statement or inference to the earlier question by Senator Olsen about the scope that caused some comments from the gallery. I was not issuing my opinion in any way, shape, or form as to what I have no opinion as to what Senator Boquist, whether he would act upon these or not. God, we hope not. My point was what employees had reported. So I don't want there to be any confusion when I mentioned that employees had reported concern that if these statements were made by him in public to the Senate President and to the Oregon State Police, the concern was for their own safety. If he would make those statements, that was my point. And I just want to make sure that the record is clear, that I'm not rendering any opinion as to whether those employee fears are valid or not. I'm just purely stating those are some of the facts I had for considerations. When I mentioned there are employee reports, those were some of the reports I was receiving.
So let me just follow up on that. I mean, I think the thing that's difficult for many individuals is that we're having a mix of different types of law and perspectives and expectations in the employment area, which is, again, new to me, and I think new to many of us as to what our obligations and requirements are. There are overlays as to the need for bringing forward, as you did as counsel, to the employer, which would be us, the risk that we have by not taking action based on individuals who are within that workplace that could be subject to these type of fears, concerns, and potential acts.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I am not a lawyer. Make it clear. I do watch Perry Mason. He's cool. I like him. I'm not a lawyer, but the comment that the attorney just made, God, I hope not. If this was a court of law, I would have objected because you were implying bias by putting that in there. And I would have objected to the court and let the judge be the decision. But this is not a court of law. But I just would hope that you eliminate, I mean, you're supposed to be a neutral arbiter. I would hope you would eliminate all of that and go down the line like you're supposed to and find what's true and what's not true. I find it discerning that you don't have the number of reports or any reports whatsoever to tell us about, other than the fact that someone said that they're concerned.
Senator Olsen, I think, again, we're starting to mix stuff again. I mean, the bottom line is this: what's happening on the complaints themselves, if they're going to come forward, will be judged on those days at the time we get them. To try to bring in and bootstrap in stuff that's being under investigation into what I call an interim step based on the attorney saying we are at risk if we do not take action based on these two threats that were made in those in the venues that were made.
I agree. So what is our goal? What is the goal of this committee today? The goal and you say we're going to do a work session, but what are we going to work on?
The goal is to determine what, if any, other steps do we have as, and I say we as a committee, to the legislative branch to actually take action to ensure the safety of individuals within the workplace while the investigation on the potential complaints are going forward. In other words, based on what she has given to us, the statements that are not in doubt because they're videotaped, put out a concern to, as we heard, sorry, I didn't write that term down. I'm going to say the managers, individuals such as members, staff for the members, the legislative branch employees who work within this workplace, meaning the state capitol, as to whether we should be looking at any type of steps to ensure the workplace is free of those concerns during the period of the investigation, and whether there is a need at this point. And I think it's very fair to say we now have a number of days that have passed since those statements were made on the 19th of June. And so those are factors that we need to take in consideration. Clearly, counsel has told us it doesn't matter per se when they were said, but in the context of what was there and what steps have or haven't been taken. And that's part of the stuff that we'll be talking about.
But Mr. Chair,